The rain had not let up since noon, and by the time Ethan Cole reached the glass tower on Fifth Avenue, his jacket was soaked through and his daughter's school shoes, tucked inside a plastic bag under his arm, were the only dry thing he owned. He was not supposed to be in this lobby. He was supposed to be 3 blocks away, dropping a delivery for the courier company that paid him $11 an hour. But the address on the slip said Kessler Tower, 17th floor, and the woman on the phone had insisted the package be handed to her personally, no exceptions. Ethan had learned not to argue with instructions. 2 years out of the army, a year out of a marriage that ended when his wife decided motherhood wasn't for her, and 6 months into raising his daughter Mia alone, he had learned that arguing rarely put food on the table. The elevator doors opened onto a floor of white marble and glass walls, and Ethan stepped out holding the package like it might break if he breathed wrong. That was when he saw her. Lilli Kessler stood by the window wall, arms crossed, dressed in a cream suit that probably cost more than Ethan made in 3 months. She was young for a CEO, 34 at most, with sharp eyes that swept over him the way people sweep over furniture they didn't order. "Traffic on the bridge," Ethan said. "I have the signature slip if you—" "I don't care about your excuses." She finally looked at him, taking in the wet jacket, the scuffed boots, the plastic bag under his arm. "Is that a delivery, or are you doing laundry on my floor?" A few of the assistants near the reception desk laughed quietly, the kind of laugh people give when they're afraid not to. Ethan didn't flinch. "It's my daughter's shoes. I picked them up on my lunch break so she'd have them for the morning." "How touching," Lilli said, and there was no warmth in it at all. "Some of us have actual responsibilities. Running a company. Not playing courier because we couldn't hold down a real job." The bodyguard standing near her, a broad-shouldered man in a black suit with a coiled earpiece wire disappearing into his collar, shifted his weight, and studied Ethan the way security studies anyone who stands too calmly in front of an angry boss. "I have a real job," Ethan said evenly. "This is my second one. I work nights loading trucks and days doing this. My daughter doesn't know the difference. She just knows her shoes will be dry." Lilli's mouth twisted, unimpressed. "Touching speech. Save it for someone who's paid to listen." She turned to the bodyguard. "Dane, get his signature and get him out. I don't have time for sob stories." Dane stepped forward, the practiced, unhurried step of a man who had walked people out of rooms 100 times before. "Sir, if you'll just—" He stopped mid-sentence. His eyes had drifted, almost on instinct, to the tattoo on the inside of Ethan's forearm, just visible where his sleeve had written up a regiment crest. Then to the way Ethan stood, weight balanced evenly, hands loose but ready, shoulders square without trying to look square. "2 tours," Ethan said quietly. 10th Mountain Division." Dane's posture changed, some old instinct rising up under the suit and the earpiece. "Fallujah?" "Second one." "You?" "Kandahar," Dane said. "Different war, same mud, same cost." He almost smiled, then caught himself, aware that Lilli was watching, arms still crossed, irritation deepening across her face at being ignored in her own lobby. Dane didn't answer her right away. He was still looking at Ethan, something working behind his eyes. "You favor your left knee," he said. "I saw it when you got off the elevator." Ethan gave a short nod. "ID, for years back. They rebuilt what they could. Left me a limp on wet days." "Rain like today," Dane said. "Rain like today," Ethan agreed. Lilli's patience snapped like a dry branch. "I don't care if you two served together, went to the same barbecue, whatever this is. Dane, I told you to get his signature and walk him out. Now!" Dane turned to her, and for the first time since Ethan had stepped off the elevator, His voice carried an edge that wasn't meant for hired muscle. "Ma'am, with respect, this man carried men out of a burning vehicle in Fallujah. I read about it in a briefing packet 2 years ago before I signed on to a security detail that included veteran outreach. I didn't put the name together until just now. His unit got a citation for it. 3 men are alive today because he didn't leave them behind, even with 2 rounds in his own leg." The lobby went quiet enough that the rain on the windows was the loudest sound in the room. Lilli's arms slowly uncrossed. "You're telling me he's some kind of—" "He's not some kind of anything, ma'am," Dane said, and though his tone stayed respectful, there was nothing soft about it. "He's a man who gave the Army 8 years, came home with a service-connected injury, and is out here in the rain buying his kid dry shoes on his lunch break because 2 paychecks isn't enough in this city to make ends meet without it. That's who you just told to save his sob story." Ethan didn't say anything. He wasn't looking for anyone to fight his battles, and he wasn't going to stand there and enjoy watching Lilli squirm either. He quietly held out the delivery slip. "Ma'am, if you could just sign here, I have another stop before 4. Lilli stared at the slip like it belonged to someone else. Her cheeks had gone from irritated pink to something closer to pale. She signed it without a word, her usual sharp authority nowhere to be found in the unsteady scrawl of her signature. "I'll walk him down," Dane said, and it wasn't a request. They rode the elevator together in a silence that wasn't uncomfortable, the kind 2 men who understand the same kind of tired can share without needing to fill it with words. When the doors opened onto the lobby, Dane held out a hand. "For what it's worth," he said, "she's not usually like that. Bad quarter. Bad week. Doesn't excuse it." "It never does," Ethan said, shaking his hand. "But I've had worse days than getting laughed at for wet shoes. I'll live." "You said your daughter's name is Mia?" "Yeah." Dane reached into his jacket and pulled out a card. "There's a veteran support fund the company runs, mostly for optics if I'm honest, but the money's real. Housing assistance, child care stipends, stuff like that. Nobody applies because nobody advertises it right. You should look into it." Ethan turned the card over in his hands, rain still dripping steadily from the ends of his hair onto the marble floor. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Dane said. "It's a fund built by people who served for people who served. You'd be doing them a favor by using it instead of letting it sit there collecting dust in a spreadsheet nobody reads." Ethan studied the card a long moment, then slid it into his jacket pocket. "I'll think about it. That's all I'm asking." Upstairs, Lilli stood at the window, watching the small shape of a man crossing the street below, plastic bag with his daughter's shoes held tight against the rain. She had built a company out of sharp words and sharper deadlines, out of never apologizing, never softening, because softness, she had always believed, got you eaten alive in this industry. But something about the stillness in that man's face when she mocked him, the complete absence of anger, sat wrong in her chest in a way none of her rivals' insults ever had. Dane came back up a few minutes later, saying nothing, simply resuming his position by the door. "Say it," Lilli said, without turning around. "Say what, ma'am?" "Whatever you're not saying." Dane considered his words carefully. "I've protected a lot of people in this job. Executives, politicians, people who thought their money made them untouchable. Most of them, if you scratch the surface, there's not much underneath. That man down there has more strength in his little finger than most people in this building have in their whole bodies, and he didn't need to raise his voice once to prove it. You spent 30 seconds trying to make him feel small, and he spent 0 seconds trying to make you feel anything at all. That's the difference between the 2 of you." Lilli didn't answer right away. When she finally spoke, Her voice had lost its usual edge. "Find out where he lives. I want the fund application sent to him directly, no paperwork run around. And put together a formal apology, not a corporate one from me." "Understood," Dane said. 3 days later, Ethan came home from his night shift to find an envelope waiting under his apartment door, along with a folder of forms already half filled out and a handwritten note that read simply, "I was wrong, and I'm sorry. My father served too, and he would have been ashamed of the words I used. Please let us help, not as charity, but as a debt we owe people like you. L. Kessler." Mia was already asleep by the time Ethan read it twice at the kitchen table, the shoes he'd bought her sitting dry and ready by the front door for morning. He folded the note carefully and set it beside her school bag, a small, quiet proof that sometimes the loudest lesson a person learns comes not from a fight one, but from the moment someone finally chooses to stop and truly see the person standing in front of him. He never applied for the fund out of pride, but he kept the card in his wallet for months, a reminder that respect, once earned honestly, cannot be undone by a rainy afternoon in a marble lobby, and that some battles are won by standing still and staying decent when the world expects you to break.